Hey, what's up, team? I'm getting ready to go into lunch and working my message for this Sunday, but I wanted to share something with you guys really fast. A couple months ago, I preached a message on the feeding the 5,000 that Jesus did. It's the only one of the miracles that's in all four of the Gospels other than the resurrection. And in that message, I talked about how because there were 12 baskets left over and they took them with them in the boat, and when they got in the storm, that the baskets of bread at their feet were the things that should have given them confidence to make it through the storm. I said that it's because they had crumbs still on their shirt that they could know that God was going to be with them in the storm that they were in. Well, I don't know why, but I've been chewing on the story lately, and so I reread it and looked at it, and right before the feeding the 5,000, it happened at evening time, at the end of the day. Earlier that very same morning, Jesus got word that John the Baptist had been beheaded. He had been killed. John the Baptist was his cousin. He was 6 months older than Jesus, and John the Baptist was literally the dude that made the way for Jesus. Jesus said that he was the greatest man among men, born of woman. I lost a cousin that was really close to me, and so I can only imagine that Jesus was heartbroken. You know, it's Jesus' fault that John has been killed, because John is preaching the truth that Jesus is preaching, and so the Pharisees go and kill John the Baptist. And so Jesus has got to be emotionally exhausted. He's got to be tired. He's got to be frustrated, and talks about it. Then it tells us that the disciples were worn out. The disciples were tired, that the disciples and Jesus had got in a boat and crossed over a body of water to get away from the people, to get away from the multitude, but that the multitude chased them. And that the people were so tired, the disciples were so tired that they fell asleep, and Jesus had to wake them up. And so Jesus wakes up the disciples and he says, "Hey guys, the multitude is here, we have to teach." And so Jesus goes again and he preaches to the multitude after his cousin dies, after his family has fallen apart, and all the disciples are exhausted. And then they have to go, and at the end of Jesus' sermon, the disciples say, "Jesus, just send the people away. Send them back to the towns to get something to eat." And they're probably starving to death. I mean, they haven't eaten. They don't have any food. They've been running away from this multitude of people. And Jesus says, "No, you give them something to eat." And then we see the miracle. Then the little boy shows up with his lunch, and they feed the 5,000. And then they get this miracle that the disciples now have 12 baskets left over, so that they get to see this amazing provision that's in the Gospels, and all four Gospels. That's this amazing story where they see that God is not only a provider, but he's a provider of more. And so I've been thinking about this, and I thought, and here's the line. It's our response in the middle of our need that positions us for more. It's our response in the middle of our need that positions us for more. The disciples could have got mad and said, "No, we're not doing it." Jesus could have said, "You know what, I've had enough. I can't handle it. My cousin got murdered this morning. I can't preach to these people. I can't bring them food and bread and fish. I can't handle it." But it was their response in the middle of their own emptiness. It was their response in the middle of their own exhaustion. It was their response in the middle of them not having what they needed that positioned them to see something that no one had ever seen. To see a more provision that God has, that then they could carry with them, and it would remind them in a storm that was coming later that God was good. And so I know it's been busy, y'all. I know it's been busy. I know that some of you are battling things in your family, that you got stuff with your parents exploding, and stuff with your kids, and stuff in your health, and stuff in your finances, and I do too. And there's days that I feel like I get in the boat and try to go across the lake to escape the multitude, but the multitude has my cell phone number, and so they chase me. But y'all, it's our response in the middle of our need that's the thing that's going to position us for more? What if the story of the feeding the 5,000 has nothing to do with the little boy and his lunch? I know I've preached it. It preaches great. The little boy brings all that he had, and Jesus uses it, and he multiplies it, and the little that you have, God can do great things with. I know that it preaches. But what if the story is really not about the little boy, but is about the disciples being willing to keep serving? What if the people were fed because the disciples didn't give up? What if the people were fed because the people facilitating the ministry didn't give up because of their own exhaustion? Now, I'm not saying that we can't rest. I'm not saying that we can't get rejuvenated. I'm not saying that we can't take days off and go sit in a hot tub and get a massage. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the enemy is attacking us, and he's wearing us down, and he's trying to get us tired. And what we have to remember is that it's our response in the middle of our need that leads to more, that leads to people being fed, and leads to us receiving more than we've ever had. God is going to bless not only his church, but he's going to bless those of us leading his church. And so it feels a little heavy, and we feel kind of spread out right now because our staff, we're still waiting on new team members, and we're still waiting on more volunteers to come in. And so we feel spread thin. But it's in our being spread thin that God provides the miraculous. So, I love you. I don't want to do what I'm doing with anybody else. I know that we go to conferences and see all these amazing people, but you are the team that God has assembled for this house. And for the spouses, for Jace and Beth and Aaron and Rachel and Kelsey, sorry if I forgot somebody. Thank you. Thank you for letting your husbands and your wives work hard. Thank you for loving them when they're spread thin. It's your response too, in the moment of need, that will allow for the more for you and for your family. So I'm just sending this video because I feel like we all needed a word of encouragement. I'm encouraged by this. I'm kind of tired. I don't really want to go write 2 sermons. I want to go take a nap. But it's our response in the moment of need that allows for miraculous to happen. Jesus did not want to preach to those people about God's goodness after his cousin got murdered. But he did it, and lives were changed, and the New Testament church was planted. All right, I've rambled on long enough. I love you guys. Keep doing it. God, his left hand is working. His plan is working. It's happening. People are coming every week. People are getting saved every week. These testimonies we're showing are not things that we're just making up. Life change is really happening. More money's coming in. Like, we legit own 36 acres. Like it's real. And so sometimes I'm not a great celebrator, but man, God is doing something amazing. So be encouraged. I love you. We got it.